What's going on, watch enthusiast family? Today we're going to do a review of the new release from JIANGHUN. They just released a watch called the Wardrum, and it's a sister company from San Martin that's going to focus heavily on unique designs. And we can see that from that new release of the Wardrum. It has a lot of striking features. It definitely is a unique design. And I want to compare it to the SN0118-G since I just put that in my collection to see if there's any similarities, because it looks like San Martin is also focusing some on unique designs. And we want to see if there are any comparisons that we could find within it. But one thing I want to say off the bat is the Wardrum is offered in 4 new colors in different colorways, and it's still an affordable range. I think the biggest concern was, were they going to do a price hike? What was going to be inside the watch? We obviously know the finishing could be achieved by them. That's never going to be an issue, I don't think. So I want to see how they're going to keep things affordable. I want to see what changes they could make to the watch, and I want to see how similar it is to the San Martin unique designs as is. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it. So first and foremost, guys, I want to thank Shane from Relative Time. You guys probably are familiar already with his channel. He actually lent me this watch so I could do the review. And if you haven't seen his review yet on this watch, please go ahead and check him out. So we're going to do an unpacking here, and I have the specifications on screen here while we do the unpacking. And the biggest thing that jumps out to me is that 49.80 millimeter lug to lug, guys. That may cause some issues for some wrists out there. It even is a smidge big for my wrist, which is a about 7.25 inch wrist. And I'll show you guys on wrist of what it looks like a little bit later. But let's check out some of this packaging here. We had a tool there that they included in the packaging itself. Here's the green box that it comes in. I think it's rather nice. Gives you that Rolex green, I guess you could say. And then we have a single watch roll that we have the watch sitting in here. And of course you can see on the top right, we have the tag there and some paperwork, but we want to see the watch, right? And here we go, guys. Here is the watch I'm unpacking now, and definitely some striking features as we can see right off of the bat. Let's take it off this roll. Leather strap, very nice, very thick, but also very stiff. It is well done, but I'm thinking it had to be counterbalanced with the weight of the watch, which is the reason why they went so thick with the leather strap. Because at the end of the day, if it was thinner, it would be more flexible, but then the watch would be shifting left and right. So here's the back of the casing off the bat, very nice engraving. Here is the front. You know, we're just taking a quick peek at this point, and we'll get some other angles here. And that's the front shot of the watch, guys. Engraving for the numbers, I think that was a really nice, different touch, unique design. Big crown there, as you saw in the specifications. And I'm not mad at that as well. I mean, we have a sandwich dial, noticeable most for the indices at the hour marks, and lollipop looking kind of design for those indices, and it looks really good, guys. I think that that design on the indices really draws your attention over to the dial where it carries out for the engravings for the hour marks. And I think they did a nice touch with the little bit of designs in between. It's definitely something of a unique caliber for sure. We could also see those lugs flaring out, which gives it that really large size. I probably would recommend that they had more of an angled approach. This way it can bring it down, especially with that stiff strap. But we have drilled lugs for those quick strap changes when we need it, so it's nice to include that. And here's the engraving on the back as a close-up, guys. Phenomenal. I mean, when it comes to finishing and it comes to something like this, we can expect that at this point. Here's a close-up on the dial. We could see the textured in the dial itself. This one is the purple colorway. It's a deep purple, so sometimes in darker lighting it may not look like that. But the details, guys, on this sandwich dial is absolutely incredible. Now, let's compare it to my San Martin SN0118-G. The first thing that strikes to me, guys, is that pattern in the dial looks very similar, so I think that they are using similar process for the dial when it comes to that, and that was pretty much the only similarities as far as it goes. I mean, of course, we're going to say that the finishing is up to par on both watches. But I also noticed another thing when I was filming outside, and They both have AR coating, but as you can see, the San Martin that I have does a little bit better in reflecting lights. And I do switch them around here just to make sure we're being fair in the positions that they were in. And as you can see, the San Martin performed a little bit better when it came to the AR coating. Now, I did find it a little bit difficult to get a shot outside in the sun without getting any reflection. I did the best I could to get it in many different angles as I do normally, but at the end of the day, there are some AR coating in there. Obviously, it would be a lot more reflection in it if it weren't, so I'm not too mad at that. Now, the Lume is reactive. Here I am casting a little bit of a shade. Obviously, if I'm in a darker setting, it would be a little bit stronger, but it is reactive. It's not the most strongest Lume that I've seen in the market, and it doesn't last as long as some of the other options that are out there, but definitely an active Lume as it is, wanting to come through as I cast this little bit of a shade. The hands on the watch are robust, matching the rest of the theme of the watch as is on all the other striking features. The second hand having a red tip, I personally rather like that little detail in there. And you could see at the indices those orange little markers within the round shapes there. The 3, 6, 9, and 12. I think it draws your eyes into the dial. I think it's a nice little detail to add. It shows more caricature into the dial. JIANGHUN logo at the 12 o'clock. At the 6 o'clock, you'll find an automatic text with 200 meters of water resistance. The crown is also very robust to keep with that theme, nicely decorated, as you can see. And another thing that's within the features of this watch, they chose to go with an NH38 movement, which I know a lot of enthusiasts request when there isn't a date wheel to not have that ghost date. Going back to the case back, it is screwed down with screws instead of it being a screwed down case back. Now my wrist size is about 46.2 millimeters wrist width. I have a 7¼ inch circumference of a wrist, so I'm expecting it to have overhang being at 49.8. And I decided to throw this on my Zero Pass strap from the Anachronist shop. This way I don't add to the thickness of that 13 millimeters. It's just going to go a loop around my wrist and, you know, just not add any more material. But it's going to give that flexibility a little bit better around the lugs to see if it'll help fit on wrist a little bit easier, or if it can, you know, make that lug to lug a little bit more integrated as possible while the strap is still on there. So let's see what that looks like, and then I'll put it on the leather straps just so I could show you guys. And I'm not expecting it really to fit, to be honest with you, because of it being such a large diameter of 49 millimeters. And yep, you could pretty much see the lugs are hanging off the wrist, and that's not really gonna fly for most people. And my wrist isn't exactly average, it's actually a little bit bigger than average, so I would imagine that people are gonna struggle with this. And I did say earlier in the video that they should angle it, and I actually noticed that the lugs are angled, so it possibly would be a point where they would have to make the case sizing just smaller in order to make that work more for people on wrist. Another critique I have for the watch is on the leather strap, and you're going to hear this from everybody who does a review, I think, in it being stiff. But another issue that they had was the length of the strap, which they actually fixed, and they're offering you an extended version of it. So compliments to them to remedying a issue so quickly. And my last critique, the NH38 is a workhorse movement, so it's not necessarily a critique more than it is my opinion, but I think that JIANGHUN will benefit more from separating themselves from San Martin when it comes to the movement. I think that they should look into doing a higher beat movement. I know a lot of enthusiasts that are trying to get away from the NH35, NH38 movements because it's just so common, and they value a higher beat movement. Now, I'm completely okay with an NH35 movement myself. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a really cheap service call if you just have to swap out the movement altogether, and that movement being really affordable. But not everybody is able to do so, and they don't mind having a higher beat movement in their watch. So I would recommend for them to try to look into doing something like that. I know it's going to change the cost of the unit altogether, but it doesn't have to be something that's going to stretch the dollar too much. It's just another upgrade as far as it goes, and it gives a little bit more separation to the San Martin company. So guys, that is my take on this watch. Overall, I have to say that I actually rather like the watch. You know, I like the unique design. I value that. I know that's not an easy feat to try to give us something that we haven't seen before. And of course, the watch is well made, and it's still within the affordable range. So I'm not mad at it overall. I do like the watch, and if you have the wrist for it, I would even recommend it. And I'm actually really excited to see where JIANGHUN takes the unique design and what they come up with. And if you're a collector that wants to add only unique designs into your collection, this watch would be absolutely perfect for you. I mean, it's absolutely unique. It's well made. It's within the affordable range. And I would, at that point, recommend the watch to somebody who can wrist it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the review. And of course, we're going to sign off with our normal quote of, it all started with a watch. No matter where you are in your journey, no matter how you like to collect, you are welcome into the watch community, as you very much should be. I thank you guys for sticking to the end. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you in the next one.